A little extra after Coach's press conference and having a little lunch. Rather than field individual inquiries, I thought I'd get the guys together here and just guys and women here together to talk a little bit, share a little bit, and then take some questions from you. And I had intended to sit down, but they told me we wouldn't be able to record and do all of this if I sat. So I will be strong and stand. I do have a few remarks before I take questions, and I want to begin with some thank yous for specifically this football season. First to our students. We asked our students to come out and pack the booth, and they did come out. They returned in numbers that we hadn't seen in quite some time. We averaged around 3,000 students a game, and that was 3 times what we did a year ago and double what we did the year before that. So that's not where we want to be, but I think it's a great start with our students to have 3,000 in there supporting their fellow students, our student athletes. So excited about that. And those students give us the home field advantage that you need in the Big 12 to compete. So the students energize the rest of the fans that are there. So they are important to us. And again, I thank them for coming out. Also, we really should start with our student athletes. I'm really thankful for the football players, particularly those seniors that have been through so much and then bought into Coach Miles and his staff and their style of coaching and their way of playing the game. I think you heard Coach Miles say throughout the season how impressed he was with the young man, and it's a challenge to accept a new coaching staff and get people settled in and the change. And you know what, these kids, these young men embraced it. As Coach talked about, they came to work every day and they worked hard and they tried extremely hard. And you know what, we saw some successes on the field because of that, and we also saw weaknesses throughout the season as well. So, but I am thankful for those student athletes. As Coach Miles said, they are going to be part of this building process. They are part of it. They were the first block, and again, I have great respect for them and wish all of them well. Whether some of them will have the professional opportunity, but most of them will go on into life and hopefully use all the things they've learned here in KU athletics, KU football, and at the University of Kansas to have a fantastic, wonderful life. So that's the ultimate goal of what we do here. I have to thank the fans. Again, they have had a decade of football that has not been the best. We've seen the attendance dwindle through the years, but they came back this year, and they came back in a big way. And again, it's a first step of building our program. When we have more success, we expect to have more fans. But I will tell you, we had a 74.3% increase in attendance in David Booth Kansas Memorial Stadium this year. 237,000 fans came, and this is the highest season since 2013. So we have taken a step there. We've got to do more, and again, we will continue to work in our marketing departments and our tickets office and our promotions area to reach out to fans, those who have not been back to our stadium in a few years, to get them back, and then also reach out to the younger fans who are a national challenge to get engaged, and we're going to continue to reach out to them and get them engaged in our football program. It's all part of what we're doing to try to build this program. And I think we all were encouraged by the sellout for the Kansas State game, for the Dillon Sunflower Showdown, right? We had a sellout. We haven't had that in the past. We haven't had that in the recent past. So, that was a huge impact on our program. It showed me, as a relatively new athletic director, what all the Kansas loyalists have told me is that, hey, when we have some success, when there's hope in the program, our fans will come back. So, you know what? I think we've made some steps there. I've seen our fans respond, and we're looking forward to working harder to get them engaged and keep them engaged in the future. I want to thank our staff, because when you put on the football program, in particular with that operation, it takes everybody pulling together. So we have a tremendous staff here, and they do an outstanding job, and I'm honored and proud to work with them. We will continue to find ways to make our stadium experience better, our fan experience better. But we're working very hard at it, and I'm really proud to work with the people on our staff. So I want to thank them. You know what? I want to thank our other head coaches and assistant coaches. You know, I've been focused and outwardly focused about football for my first 16, 17 months, okay? We talk about it in our monthly department meetings. I think our coaches and assistants understand that. But from the outside, sometimes it may look like football is all we care about. That is not the case, and I appreciate our head coaches and assistant coaches in this department understanding that message and appreciating the fact that they know we have to build that program in order to make everybody else better. So I thank them. I thank them for their support as we, again, work to build our football program for the benefit of our program and our university. On a broader note, I'm excited about the economic impact we've had on our university community and the Fayetteville community. When you look at this Dillon Sunflower Showdown alone, the estimated economic impact is $5.8 million for that weekend. And that's just from the people that traveled in for that game. And that's a huge number. So it also gives us an idea of what can be for this community as we build this program. So it's mutually beneficial for KU football, KU athletics, University of Kansas, the Lawrence community to help us build a football program. It just makes sense for everybody. And I look forward to working more with the university and the Lawrence community to help us make the fan experience coming in and out of the stadium even better. And we'll be doing that in the weeks and years to come. Finally, I'll just say, you know what? We hired Coach Miles because we want to build a program. We want to build a winning program. We want to build a championship program. We're taking a step. We didn't get in the condition we're in prior to his arrival overnight. We won't get out of it overnight, but I am optimistic. And I want to thank one thing, two I want to thank, and that is the single ticket buyers, the season ticket buyers, those donors that have invested through Break the Cycle. They're going to be the reason we are able to lift this program up. They're going to be the reasons why we do break the cycle. We're going to invest in our program, and we're going to recruit our way out of the situation we're in. And again, it won't happen overnight. We've taken a step. I have great confidence in Coach Miles and his staff and their abilities to lead this program. So with that, I will stop and be happy to take your questions.
Just from a wins and losses standpoint, I guess, how did the 2019 season kind of measure up to your expectations?
We wanted to win every game. We didn't, so we didn't meet our expectations. No, you know what? I'm an optimist. You guys asked at the beginning of what's a success for you. I don't know. I think we saw improvement. You know, we only saw 3 wins. I think we saw other games that, wow, we competed in. You look at the Texas game. I mean, we were 1 minute and 10 seconds away from a victory there, and I mean, that would have been huge for our program, but we're closer. We're far closer than we have been. And so, you know, we're never satisfied. We're not satisfied with three wins. But again, we think we've made progress. I think if you watched our football team compete, I think you would say we've made progress. We have to continue to make progress. And I think the recruiting efforts that our coaches are in right now are going to be a big part of that progress. You know, we've got to, again, recruit our way out of the situation we're in, and I think we're making a good start on that. Last year we did with the short period of time, and now this year is even more important. And I think we're going to get there.
So you would consider it a successful season overall, just based on those factors?
Well, no, it's not successful because we didn't win every game, but it was a positive step forward, and we're getting better.
What you mentioned attendance. What did you make of the drop in attendance there for the finale? Pretty stark contrast.
Oh well, I think you make of it. One, it's on the Thanksgiving holiday weekend. That has an impact, and it has an impact when your team's not not highly successful. If you look across the country, those last Thanksgiving weekends, if your team's not in competition for the championship, or if it's not a rivalry game that draws people and attracts people, you have challenges there. So, but again, I think if you look at the entire season, you look at the fans, the way they came back, we're very pleased with the impact that we've made in reaching out to our fan base and them coming back to support.
We experienced the sellout here in November. What is it going to take to have that type of representation and support consistently and multiple times throughout a season?
Yeah, the easy answer is, one, we have to continue to prepare for success, meaning behind the scenes, our marketing, our tickets, our event management, our fan experience. We have to prepare for those successes before they arrive. And then the obvious answer, our team has to be better on the field. They have to win more games for fans to get excited. So what we do administratively is we gotta make sure we put the plans in place ahead of time. So when we have that success, we don't know when it's coming, but we know it's coming. And when it comes, we're in position to take advantage of the success. So that's what we're working hard. Coaches and staff are working on building teams, recruiting players, making them better, developing them. We're working on getting our stadium better, fans in and out, parking, traffic flow, all those things, so we can take advantage of success when it comes.
Jeff, you talked a lot about the staff, the support staff, and putting more money and more bodies in those types of positions. Are there specific examples, or even just a general, something you can point to that says, hey, this benefited us in this way this season?
On the analyst and the coaching front, I think that's a coaching question, but certainly just having them there, having the staff available to do the analysis that takes time and effort to do, having those analysts in place to do that for the coaches, I think helped us immensely. There's no question about that. And I think the other area is recruiting, and we're seeing the investment. We've got till December 18th to bring this class home, and I'm confident we will, but I think we are having very good success because we have that infrastructure behind the coaches, so they're prepared. Coach Miles is prepared, and they've got their targets lined up, and they're not grabbing the last available people. We're going out and recruiting people that have many options. So I think that's a sign, and I don't, without that infrastructure behind it, I don't think we're in position to do that.
But how are you kind of feeling at this state about your kind of proposal, your idea about putting scholarships up to 30, and then was it 30 and 50?
Yeah, great question. That's something, again, behind the scenes we're working very hard on, and it's been, it's surprising to me in some areas it's been a harder sell than others, because, and it may have been my failure and others to communicate the positives versus the negatives of it. But the Mid-American Conference was actually the first one to put the concept forward and support what I had laid out. We have come back in since time, worked with the Big 12, and so in order to get the Big 12 on board to support, we needed to adjust it. We went 35, knowing that probably wasn't going to work, but it's now the proposal is down to 30 in 1 year, then 20 the next, 50 over a rolling 2-year period. The Mid-American Conference has signed on to that. That's a really good sign, because you have a group of 5 schools supporting, as well as the Big 12 Conference now and a Power 5 school. So it'll come up for vote in January, and I think it has a good chance of being voted in, and then next year we would have that opportunity to go up to a 30. All schools would have that opportunity to go up to 30. But then again, you always have to keep in mind it's a rolling. It's 50 over 2 years. So if you got 30 in one, you only have 20 the next. So.
Hey Jeff, over here with the 9-game Big 12 football conference schedule and looking at scheduling teams going forward, do you and Coach Miles have an idea of what type of opponents you're looking for those 3 non-conference spots that you schedule out in the future, what you're looking for in each one of those games?
Well, sure. And again, with a 9-game schedule, the scheduling philosophy is different than the previous institution I was at. But, certainly you want to use those 3 games to prepare for the Big 12 conference and prepare you to hopefully win a Big 12 conference title, because a conference title is what is going to make the difference now and in the future if we see changes coming to the college football playoff system. So winning your conference championship is the most important thing. So we build that non-conference schedule to try to help us do that. And we do have the additional requirement that we have another Autonomy 5 school scheduled in that non-conference schedule. So, we've typically had an FCS, we've had a group of 5, and we've had an Autonomy 5 in those 3 games. And that's the philosophy for now we'll continue with, because that's what the rules dictate to us.
Hey Jeff, you'd mentioned kind of the word fundraising just a couple of minutes ago. Can you kind of give us an update now that the practice facility, that's kind of all done and put together? How close are you getting to kind of making that next step and starting to make some of those improvements at the stadium?
Yeah, well, first of all, the practice facility has been, a much needed addition. And I think the timing of that coming on when Coach Miles came on board has really given us a chance to go out and recruit at a different level. So facilities are important. We know it's been decades we've talked about the arms race in athletic facilities, and it's real and it exists and it has an impact. And we don't need to look any further than Rock Chalk Park on our own campus to see how it resulted in a Big 12 tennis championship and now our Big 12 soccer championship this year. So facilities are important. So indoor facilities outstanding. We also talked about, the Break the Cycle Fund. Our goal is to raise $25 million over 5 years. We're excited because we're over $16 million already in not even 2 years. So we're well on our way to hitting that goal. But now we've started the master planning process for not only David Booth Kansas Memorial Stadium, but really looking at all of our facilities for 5, 10, 15, 30 years down the road. What is it we're going to need? What is it we're going to want? And we're going to put that plan in. And those plans can be changed over time, but we're going to have a plan in place to work through. We're starting work with, our selected architect is Populous, and we're working them with a review of Kansas Memorial Stadium, and we're starting to just at the beginning of what the stadium could and should look like. We're at the beginning of developing the financing plans for the stadium. And again, I will tell you, we're just at the beginning of that. But we'll be turning our sights to that now, but it depends on success in the program and the interest in our major supporters to contributing to that stadium build. It is a needed project, but it's one that needs to be strategically timed for and executed.
Is there anything that you can do, with the power to do, to explain to the conference the historical significance of playing K-State the last game of the season, like many other schools do across the country, that rivalry matchup?
Oh, I think those conversations are happening at the conference level. Obviously, there's 2 sides to every coin on that. We're having those conversations at the conference level, and I think they were going on prior to my arrival, and I'm sure they'll continue to go on. But there are things as we get closer to that television contract that you might see conferences look at doing differently going forward.
Hey Jeff, what's your evaluation of Coach Miles after his first year?
Coach Miles did a good job of leading a team who had challenges in the team. I think he did a great job of getting them to play together. I think they did a great job of getting them to buy into a new coach and a new program and a new style and a new way of doing things. And I again, I applaud those student athletes because they did that. I think Coach Miles did what he does. I mean, he is a player's coach. He develops young people. And then we know him as an excellent recruiter, and I think we're going to see that play out. So I think we're getting the experienced national championship winning coach that we expected to get. It's a tough build, and we've made strides. So do I wish we were further along? Yes. Am I disappointed where we are? No. And we've taken the first step.
I just wondered too, you talked about recruiting and building your way out of this. Are there conversations, because there have been points in other tenures where 2 or 3 years, then it starts to turn JUCO, and then you kind of start to do the same thing. Are there conversations to keep this thing, kind of like you said, as part of the building process when it comes to recruiting high school athletes?
Yeah, in the recruiting process of Coach Miles, sitting down with him and talking about this job, one of the things that struck me most was that we were very much in line there. He believes we're gonna work our way out of this through high school student athletes. Doesn't mean that we aren't gonna pick and choose to fill in a spot to help us from the junior college ranks, but I think as this class shapes up, I think that'll send a strong message to where we are with that commitment to recruit high school student athletes. But there'll always be a chance, and to answer your question, I can't predict 2 and 3 years down the road. I can tell you now that our commitment when we started this process was, we're gonna build this with high school student athletes. We're gonna start with the ones in Kansas who are good enough to help us win a Big 12 championship, and we're gonna go out from there.
I promise I'll give it up after this. I wanted to ask you about the same thing, evaluation of Miles to Go, the series for you guys, and if it will continue moving forward.
Yeah, again, the Miles to Go series was a tough sell, first to me and then to Coach Miles, right? But as I've talked about before, as I sit down with Chris Freed and our other staff, we knew we had to be different. We couldn't just go out there and be the same old Kansas and try. So, this was one of the first ideas brought to us about being different. Nobody's done this. It'll get people interested, they'll watch, they'll be excited, and we'll get a chance to show who we are as a program. Coach Miles will be able to show who he is as a person, as a coach, how he treats the players, how he cares about them. I think that show has done that wonderfully. I really do. We constantly get recruits, parents, and I see them when they come to games and they search out, they see Kathy Miles or whatever, and they, oh, I love your family, I love your family dynamic. That's one of the things you can't tell in the home of a prospect to his parents, and they saw it. They see it on that show. So yes, it's done that, and you know what? It's had an impact on fans. They're watching. They're commenting about it. They have, they think, it's fun when they ask, well, your acting is really good, and no, I'm really not acting. I'm just trying to do my job, right? But no, I'm rambling, but I think it's had an impact, a positive impact. I think it's been successful for us. I think it's been able to show our program in a different light. I think it's drawn eyeballs and interest from people we weren't getting before. And particularly in recruits and our fan base. So I think it's really positive. Going forward, we haven't had those discussions yet. There's 2 sides of the coin on that too, right? So, but we'll evaluate it and see what the interest is and see if we think it's gonna benefit our program going forward. I will say, I think, I was told that during this time period that it's run, we've been the 3rd most viewed streaming on ESPN Plus, which is impressive. I know we're behind, who is it, Manning? What's his?
Peyton Manning?
Yeah, what's his?
Peyton's Place.
Peyton's Place, yeah. We were 2nd to him, now I think we're 3rd, somebody else slipped in there, but that's really positive. And ESPN Plus, Big 12 now is growing. Subscribers are growing on there. I know it's a change and it's troublesome for people, particularly of my age group, to be able to understand and how to stream that, but I've even figured it out. So my wife figured it out, so I'm telling you, it can be done.
All right, anybody have anything else?